And just like that, AMD has done it again. They have surprised the tech world and have taken their innovation even further than we expected. So let's talk about it. What's up everyone? It's finally that time to talk about the new Ryzen 7000 launch on September 27th. So less than a month from the time of making this video, and it's looking like these may be some of the hottest, literally hottest products that AMD has released to date, not only because they will be an insanely popular choice among us gamers, but because of their new high TDPs and clock speeds. So get out your new X670 or B650 motherboard, DDR5 RAM, and beefiest CPU cooler, because we're going to unpack the info AMD released on these new chips right after a word from our sponsor.
Are you tired of that annoying Windows activation watermark on your desktop? VIP URCD Key has you covered with fully licensed codes to activate your favorite games and software. Purchasing your key is super easy. All you have to do is click on the item that you want, click buy to add it to your cart. Once in your cart, you can now enter my promo code RAV20. After adding the promo code, you'll see your savings pop up, and you can then purchase your product with your chosen payment method. Finding and entering your Windows 10 CD key is super easy. All you have to do is go over to your user profile, find your purchase, and click View Keys and Codes to reveal your new CD key. Then all you have to do is go to Settings in Windows, click on Update and Security, click on Activation, and finally click on Change Product Key and paste your new key into the window and click Next. You'll now have a fully licensed version of Windows 10 with no watermark. Check the links in the description to start saving now.
Alright, right out of the gate, let's talk about AMD's new product stack of 5nm chips and their features. The new Ryzen 7000 chips top out at 16 cores, so this keeps them at the same core count as the last generation Ryzen 5000. This makes me think that they're moving to more of an Intel style upgrade path, where instead of adding more cores like we're used to them doing in the past, they are now chasing higher clock speeds and a higher IPC, as you'll see in a minute. The top dog of the pack is the 7950X, and it will offer 16 cores, followed by the 7900X with 12, the 7700X with 8, and finally the 7600X with 6 cores. And as before, AMD is building their chips using the two Zen 4 CPU core chiplets, each comprising 8 Zen 4 CPU cores. Now let's talk about those crazy clock speeds. These new chips all have a base clock of at least 4.5 gigahertz, with the flagship 7950X boosting all the way up to 5.7 gigahertz. Wow! This is apparently an 800 megahertz improvement over the 5000 series, and that paired with an up to 13% improvement in instructions per clock from the new Zen 4 microarchitecture results in a 29% improvement in single-threaded performance over last-gen chips. AMD also claims up to 45% more performance and multi-threaded applications. All of that dumbed down, higher clock speeds plus higher IPC equals better gaming performance and better workstation performance, which we all want. Additionally, the chips come loaded with new tech like an integrated Radeon RDNA 2 graphics engine, and they support AI instructions based on AVX 512. Now, AMD also showed some head-to-head slides with Intel, and AMD claims the high-end 7950X is 11% faster overall in gaming than Intel's fastest chip, the 12900K. That's pretty cool and all, but what I find most fascinating is that apparently the low-end Ryzen 5 7600X beats Intel's 12900K by 5% average in gaming. They even showed a clip of it beating the 12900K by 11% in F1 2022 in their benchmark. Honestly, just to match Intel's performance here would have been cool, but to beat it, huge W for AMD and a big oof to me and my 12700K in my gaming rig. But jokes aside here, we'll have to wait until we get these chips into our hands to do some real-world gaming tests. But if those numbers actually do turn out to be true, I can see this chip becoming massively popular among gamers, and I can see it becoming the new meta in builds wanting to utilize all this new hardware. So every bit of that sounds really awesome, and I'm sure we'd love to have a system with these chips in it, but how much are they actually going to cost you? Starting with the top end 7950X, you're looking at $699, the 7900X is $549, the 7700X is $399, and the 12900K, I mean the 7600K is $299. Now, if you're looking at those prices and thinking, well, for a new product launch, that's not half bad. Hold on, I'm not finished. I was not joking at all when I mentioned getting out your new motherboard and RAM in the intro of the video. the Ryzen 7000 series CPUs will be using a completely new platform, so your nice budget B450 or even B550 boards are not going to be compatible with these chips, unfortunately. Starting with the motherboards, the launch of AM5 boards will be spread over 2 months. For the initial September 27th launch, the X670 and X670E boards will be available, while the mainstream B650 boards, including the newly announced B650E chipset, will be available a month later. So your first decision here will be, really, do you need a higher end board, or would you rather wait for a more budget conscious option? From what AMD has said, motherboard prices will start at $125 and pretty much go up from there. I'm assuming this is just for the more entry-level B650 boards without any PCIe 5.0 functionality, and I can only speculate as to now how much of a premium you're gonna actually have to pay for those boards with PCIe 5.0, but what I can say right now is definitely expect to pay more than $125 for that. Along with a new motherboard, you'll also need to purchase a kit of DDR5 memory. So September 27th will also see the release of the first factory overclocked memory kits specifically tuned for the Ryzen 7000 series. For this generation, AMD will be offering extended profiles for overclocking, or EXPO for short, standard, which is AMD's counterpart to Intel's XMP profiles, which if you guys have done this into your BIOS before, it lets you just, pre-overclock your memory at a set profile that they already have for you. So AMD expects at least 15 EXPO-enabled memory kits to be available at launch, featuring speeds up to DDR5 6400, with their base frequency being DDR5 5200. So you're going to need to shell out some cash for a new motherboard and a new kit of RAM, but hey, AMD did say that these boards will be compatible with the old AM4 CPU coolers, so I mean, that's a plus, right? So if you're looking to upgrade to this new hardware, this could get pretty expensive very fast. But I wouldn't fret too much about it if you're coming to this stuff new, because AMD has already said they are planning on using the AM5 platform very similarly to how they did with the AM4 platform, so you should be able to use your AM5 board for quite a long time. Now to round this up, let's talk about the power consumption of these chips and what you can expect as far as the heat that they may produce. AMD bumped up its TDP ratings in this new release with a 65-watt increase in the base TDP for the Ryzen 9 models, a 45-watt increase for the Ryzen 5, and then the Ryzen 7 7700X basically stays the same as last gen. Additionally, the peak power consumption for AM5 socket is now 230 watts. That's a significant increase over the previous gen Ryzen 5000's 142 watt limit. So with these increases to power draw, I can only assume that these chips will run hotter than your mom all dressed up for bingo when it's $2 Long Island night. This table I ripped from Tom's Hardware shows the cooling parameters for each TDP, and if you look at the top end, 7900X and the 7950X, you will also need at least a 280mm liquid cooler or higher to cool them sufficiently, and that assumes your case also has proper airflow. So suffice to say, you better have a fat wallet if you're thinking about grabbing one of these top-end chips when they release. So yes, all of this is very exciting, and seriously, I'm very stoked to see AMD doing so well and constantly throwing a curveball at Intel, which will only drive innovation and keep the PC world moving forward. Also, if any of you out there happen to have some kind of connection to someone over there at AMD, please let me know in the comments, because I would love to make some content around these new CPUs. But I'm a smaller channel and I don't have a rep at AMD right now, so yeah, if any of you could help, that'd be great. Anyway, you guys know what to do. Like and subscribe, do all the things, and that way you guys can see my future content, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.